Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Reserved Investments. And by now, you know the drill. This is part 8 of my 18,000 subscriber Q&A series. Spoiler alert, we're still not going to get through all the questions. So there is definitely going to be a part 9 and possibly a part 10 to this series. So I thank you for your patience. With that being said, we're going to dive right in. So first question. Hi, Sean. Maybe some thoughts about how to track and decide when to sell items you speculate on. Keeping track of a large amount of different prices for different items is a lot of ongoing work. Thank you. I actually am looking into possibly doing a video on this. It would have to be more of an interactive video where basically I go online, I show you how to do market research, I show you how to track the value, the realistic value of some of your holdings, and I can even go as far as to show you how to set it up in like a Google Sheets document or an Excel spreadsheet, because that's really all that I use to keep track of what I paid for these items, what I have in inventory. I just use a simple spreadsheet. I do have some more complex algorithms, things running on computers that help me make wise decisions. I am constantly tracking the value of certain markets. That said, I do also have some core holdings in my collectible portfolio that are there for the long term, meaning I'm not looking to sell those items. So as a result, I don't as vigorously track the value of them on a regular basis. For instance, my rare coin collection, I have certain pieces of currency that I know I'm not going to be willing to part with anytime soon. I also have some vintage PSA 10 Pokemon cards that I do want to hold on to just to see what the market does. I have other collectibles that I'm not as much attached to, so I do spend some time doing a lot of market research. And when I say a lot, guys, I will say this. Some of you get really obsessed with doing a lot of market research for your holdings. I will tell you, even if you have like a 5 or 6 figure collection, you really only should be spending a few hours at best per month on figuring out the value of this stuff. If you are that much obsessed with the value of these items on a regular basis, that tells me that you have way too much invested in these markets that you can technically stomach. So if that's you, I would tell you to pull back from these markets a little bit. But yes, I will most likely at some point do a video on this. The thing about me is I'm really not a big techie, especially when it comes to YouTube. So I'm going to have to kind of learn how I can present my screen and talk to you guys and navigate what I'm doing on the screen so I can teach this to you. That is coming on this channel. I do want to wait a little bit till I get some more subscribers. Like if we get over 20,000 subscribers, I think that would be a good time to put out a video like that where we go more in depth, because at that particular point in time, I know the channel's growing and it's worth it to take you behind the scenes and give you that type of information. But rest assured, it is in the planning stages, because I do think that's an important piece that is missing from what I'm teaching. If I'm going to show you collectible finance, I should also show you the behind the scenes of it. How dealers, how investors, how even speculators on the high end tier of the trade track this stuff, do market research, analyze when is a good time to sell, when's a good time to buy, what the return on investment is, all that wonderful fun stuff that goes on behind the scenes. So I would like to show you guys that. I do know if you watch Alpha Investments, Rudy many years back did a couple of those videos, and I always think that they're very good and informative. The problem that sometimes I have with those type of videos is it kind of sucks people in, and people think then that all collectibles are a great investment. And sometimes you will see people go all in thinking that, oh my gosh, this one booster box or this one collectible went to the moon. That means I could put all my money in these markets. I just want to go slow on this channel, teach the core fundamentals. Then when we get to that point, I will gladly take you behind the scenes and show you how I do market research. Next question. Sean, what are your top 10 favorite books for numismatics? Okay, you're getting 5. I don't have time to devote 20 minutes to this question. So very quickly, I'm going to show you, as already talked about on this channel, my top 5 books if you want to learn rare coin investing, the rare coin marketplace. So here we go very quickly. The first book you must get your hands on before you buy the coin is this book right here. It is called The Coin Collector's Survival Manual. I don't care if you're a novice in this market. I don't care if you're an expert with decades of experience in coin collecting and rare coin investing. You must read this book. It pays to get the most up-to-date edition. I think there is 7 or 8 editions of this readily available. If you can get the 7th, which is what this is, or even the 8th edition, that's going to benefit you tremendously. You should be able to find a copy of this book on Amazon, on eBay. Even if you know of an online coin supply store, you should be able to get it for $25 or less. Please do not pay a premium for this book if you really, really want a copy. I think I have like 3 copies of this. So if you reach out to me, I will sell it to you for whatever this book was released at. I think it's $22.99, and I'll pay the shipping if you want a copy of this that bad. Again, I only have like 3 copies of this, and one of them, of course, I'm keeping for myself. But if you are having trouble finding it, you can probably do better buying it online than going through me. But I will gladly make the exception and sell you a copy if you really want to learn this stuff. And again, I'm not making any money off you. Believe me. Next book I recommend, Inside the Rare Coin Marketplace. And this is by Q. David Bowers. This is an excellent book. I forget when this was published. I think it was, if I recall correctly. Yeah, it was published. This edition was published right around 2017. So a lot of it is still relevant. This takes you inside the rare coin marketplace and teaches you how to be a better buyer. Now, if you have to choose between this book and this book, go with this book first. You can always back into this book at any given time. This is going to provide the core fundamentals. This is just going to help back up those fundamentals. The third book that I recommend here is The Insider's Guide to Coin Values. This is by Scott A. Travers. Scott A. Travers also wrote The Coin Collector's Survival Manual. This is an excellent companion to this book, but please read this book first. Now, I have some bonus books here that I'm going to show you. And in all actuality, I said 5 books. We're actually going to do 6. So the next 2 books are pretty much the same book, just different editions. This is called For Pleasure and Profit. This is about a very wealthy investment banker who pretty much diversified into the rare coin marketplace. And what he does is he goes through and he shows you what coins he bought, what grade they were in, how much he paid for them. And then when he consigned the collection to auction, he tells you what each coin sold for. So you can see his actual profit and loss statement from that collection. And it gives great insight to the rare coin marketplace. And I will tell you what's great about this. If you get the first edition and then you get the second edition, each edition features a different set of coins. That's what makes these books so fascinating. So as a bonus, those of you that collect series of coins, whether it's Morgan silver dollars, Barber coinage, Peace dollars, the official Red Book company, they produce guidebooks of certain coin series. So if you tell me, Sean, I really want to go after gold dollars, I want to invest in gold dollars, all you got to do is look for the book that they put out on gold dollars, and this book is going to help you on your collecting and investing journey. And make no mistake, I don't know if you can see it in the background of my videos, they make one of these books devoted to almost every U.S. coin series. So let's say that you want to get into Walking Liberty half dollars. They have a book that will break down the mintages of each coin, how much you can expect to pay for each coin in each subsequent grade, and what the optimal collecting grade is. So for roughly less than 25 bucks, if you want to invest in gold dollars, and I'm going to tell you, if you're going to go after gold dollar coins, obviously, especially in like MS63, MS64, MS65 condition, you're probably going to be paying several $1,000s for a coin. So a $25 book that teaches you about this market is a godsend. So that's one thing that I love about the rare coin marketplace is there is a plethora of books to help you on your quest. That's what makes this market so exciting, so fascinating, and so much, in my opinion, as a great investment, assuming you know what you're doing. Okay, next question. Sean, with the current economy, are there any market signals, aside from interest rates, that you're watching out for that would cause you to increase, decrease your stake in the antiques and collectibles space? Okay, at present time, at the filming of this video, in the beginning of April 2025, the markets that I am actively looking at right now, I'm going to be 100% honest with you guys. I have nothing to hide on this channel. I am literally looking at right now coins, currency, vintage PSA graded Pokemon cards, vintage toys geared towards, you guys know this, vintage Star Wars proof cards that are AFA graded, and also, to a lesser extent, unless I find good deals, graded video games and graded comic books. Those are the markets I am actively pursuing. However, overall, due to what's happening in the overall economic environment with the tariffs, just where the economy is headed right now, I have to find a good deal. So I am pulling back a little and taking a wait and see attitude. Now, that doesn't mean you should do the same depending on what market you're operating in. We all have different goals. We all have different circumstances. We all have different risk tolerances, different risk assessments as well. But I'm just telling you, from my perspective, I have pulled back a little. I pretty much took my foot off the gas. I am not pumping the brake, meaning I'm still looking for opportunities if they come my way, but I'm being a more shrewd buyer at present time. So for me to take the plunge right now, it can't be just at market value. There has to be at least a 5 to 10% discount for me to pull the trigger, unless if it's in an overhyped market, which, to be fair, if you're going to go after gold coins right now, because the price of gold has escalated so much within the last year, you're going to pay a premium for those coins. So you kind of have to be practical in your approach. But like if I'm going to go after a graded comic book, I need to be able to get it at a little bit of a discount for me to pull the trigger, or it has to be a sleeper, something that I consider that is selling right now in the open market for a discount already, meaning collectors have pulled away from that market. There are certain books that are starting to flatline. I'm noticing that. If I see one of those books and it's just sitting out there for the taking and I can get it for a decent price, I'll pull the trigger. But I'm not actively going into the market seeking out certain collectibles, because over the last few years, even with the COVID crash, when we look at certain markets like coins, currency, vintage Pokemon cards, vintage toys, graded toys, those markets still had an uptick in demand and value. So in my opinion, if we're going to hit an area of stagflation, those particular collectibles are selling, in my opinion, right now, and this could change next month, this could change tomorrow, this could change 6 months from now. But my opinion is those items are still selling at a significant premium compared to what is happening in the overall economy. Now, there is a chance what's happening in the overall economy right now is all smoke and mirrors. It's going to pass. Everything's going to turn out okay over the next couple of months, the next year possibly, and we're going to see a significant turnaround. That could also happen. But I am taking a step back and approaching this more from a cautious and rational investor, rather than some of these starry-eyed speculators that are just going all in on Pokemon, Magic the Gathering, toys, video games, whatever it is. You have to, at times like this, take a step back and analyze the market and just breathe for a little and just see what's happening. See, that's the problem that I have with FOMO. That's why I do so many videos on this channel warning you guys about FOMO, fear of missing out, speculative frenzies, speculative bubbles, the hype train. Because those of you that go all in, you tend to make a drastic mistake, especially over the long term. And if you don't see all the risks, if you're unable to assess risk properly, always remember, it's going to end badly for you. Always also remember, let me give you one more tip before we go to the next question. Risk is usually what you don't see. Very few people in any type of investing market can accurately assess risk. For instance, 2 to 4 years ago, we really weren't talking about tariffs on a daily basis like we are now. And what's even more interesting to me, I am going to just state this one statement, and please don't hold it against me. Tariffs were never considered a political hot topic. The reason why they're a political hot topic is because mainly one man in charge of one certain political party is making them a political topic. And you guys that keep coming to me, Sean, don't talk about tariffs. It's a political hot topic. The reason why it's a political hot topic is because we've made it that way. 3 to 4 years ago, tariffs were not a political topic at all. They weren't even controversial. So I think I'm able to give my opinion on this without setting off anybody who may have a differing opinion, whether you're on the left or the right. It doesn't matter. I'm just telling you, right now there's a lot of uncertainty in the market that you have to take into account if you're investing not only in antiques and collectibles, it could be gold, silver, cryptocurrency, real estate, or financial markets at present time. Okay? So next question. Sean, just echoing that I may go to a lot of channels for entertainment, but this is pretty much the only one I go to for actual level-headed advice. Was curious about your thoughts on where to invest at various price points in rare or first edition books. What are some places you might start for someone looking at long-term potential at the $500, $1,000, and $3,500 level? Well, right now, if you're going to the $5,000 to $1,000 level, I would tell you there is some opportunity. If you are a horror fan and you want to go after like first edition Stephen King hardcover novels that were first premiered back in the 1980s, possibly even the 1990s, there is some opportunity there. You just have to realize that there's a lot of those readily available on the secondary market. But if you look at the price history of those books, Stephen King first edition novels have been steadily increasing in value. So there is a lot of demand there. Now, if you're going all the way up to the $3,500 level, believe it or not, there are some classic American literature books that you can get at that level. I will tell you, if you're a fan of like A Death of a Salesman, Arthur Miller, that book is a classic, and that is readily available for a little bit under $3,500, even in fine condition when it comes up for bid usually. So there are some classic American novels that you can get at that price point. Now, of course, if you're going to navigate into books like The Great Gatsby, which is my all-time favorite novel, even Ethan Frome by Edith Wharton, if you're going to navigate into A Picture of Dorian Gray, stuff like that, that really has that classic universal appeal, then you're probably going to have to spend much more. You're probably going to be in the $5,000 to $10,000 range, if not more, depending on condition, depending if the book originally came with its original dust jacket, and if that's intact in the copy that you're going after. So you can still, if you can afford to go up to the $3,500 level, and you understand how this market works, and you're very patient, you can get some major American literary classics here. So it just depends on what you're really into. I would encourage you, if you really want to learn this market, the two auction houses that I really recommend, Swann, SWANN auction galleries, they have incredible auctions geared towards manuscripts and first edition books. So does Heritage Auctions. Heritage Auctions frequently has signature sales in this category where you can get a lot of incredible first edition copies if you're willing to pay the going price. I would tell you to start there, because I will tell you one thing about Heritage and Swann auction galleries. These books are at least vetted. So you know you're going to get an original copy in most cases. They both have stellar reputations. So that's where I would tell you to start. Next question. Sean, I would like to hear your thoughts on Heritage Auctions' defaulting to grading submissions with CGC now, and especially when they're the only company left without a population report for video games. Okay, I've made my stance very clear on this now through multiple videos. Every legit, highly respectful third-party grading company should offer population reports. This includes CGC, this includes VGA, AFA, PSA, NGC, PMG, PCGS, whatever company alphabet soup acronym we want to use here. If they are a top tier, highly respected grading company or want to become a top tier, highly respected grading company, they should have regularly updated online population reports readily available. And when I say regularly updated, I'm not saying that they have to be updated on a monthly basis. It should be at least, though, every quarter. So every 90 days, they should go in and they should update their population reports. If they do that, I give them all the credit in the world, at least for being transparent about the items that are coming through their doors, the items that they are grading, and the grades that they are assigning to those items. Now, this is where controversy erupts, because there's a lot of people that try to call me out and say, well, Sean, you went really hardcore against WATA Games back around 2020, 2021. Now we have other companies that aren't publishing population reports. How come you're not chomping at the bit, screaming at them that they're violating ethics within the trade? Well, here's the difference, my friends. If you remember, WATA Games was, how do I want to say this? They were first shown on Pawn Stars, allegedly getting involved in the secondary market. That is a much worse offense, in my opinion, than just a company who already is in the collectible sphere, which CGC is, and at least in regards to most of the other collectibles that they grade, comic books, lobby cards, magazines, they have readily available population reports. So if I'm looking at this from a rational perspective, eventually, most likely, CGC, if they already have population reports for comic books and the other things that they grade, eventually they will get to population reports for video games. Now, does that excuse the fact that at present time, they don't have population reports available? It does not. But I'm not that concerned because CGC, to my knowledge, has not gotten involved in the secondary market for the items they grade. That's my problem with certain third-party grading companies. And I'm going to leave it at that. Because I really think now that WATA Games is under ownership of the Collectors Universe, they're owned and operated by the same company that owns PSA, PCGS, they are going to get their proverbial shit together. I honestly am willing to forgive and overlook what happened with WATA Games in the beginning, simply because the way that I look at this is, yes, it was egregious as to what allegedly happened, if the allegations are true. Let me word it that way. But I can chalk some of it off to a lack of experience, to somebody who got lucky, had a concept, really had a passion for this stuff, and got pulled into it and didn't kind of understand maybe what he or she was doing. So I will say, if they get their proverbial shit together now, I have no problem with the company going forward. But I will say, I'm always going to have one eye open if I do business with them, or if I see them mucking around in the market and certain things are amiss, because they now have a history of allegedly getting involved in that secondary market, which is where no third-party grading company should be. You notice I have a lot of respect for Matt Nelson. Matt Nelson runs CGC, and I'm sure it's possible. I don't know if he does watch this channel. I don't know if he watches my Q&As, because we're like 25 minutes into this. I don't know if he's sitting here watching this, but I'm sure that eventually he will do the right thing and release population reports for these items that they are grading. Why wouldn't he? They've already done it for the comic books and the other items they grade. So this is just a natural progression of what they're doing. But yes, to answer your question, I am against any legit, highly respectful third-party grading company that does not put out population reports for the items they grade on a regular basis. And you as a collector, investor, speculator, casual consumer in this market, you should also be upset over that because it's a lack of transparency. The reason why people have faith and pay a premium for top-tier third-party graded collectibles, whether you agree with this or not, is because it brings confidence in the market. That confidence translates to more buyers and sellers. When you have more buyers and sellers operating in a market that feel comfortable doing business in that market, it equals liquidity. This is why third-party graded collectibles, whether you like the idea or not, are best to invest in, both over the short term and over the long term. That's why if you look at my holdings in the antiques and collectibles trade, I have, over the last few years, started to pretty much sell some of my ungraded stuff, like the items that just can't practically be graded, like my antique and vintage marble collection, my collection of cast iron mechanical banks, my collection of Tiffany glass, certain artwork pieces, even certain edged weapons. And if you notice, what I'm doing is I'm buying more third-party graded collectibles because they have more liquidity, they're easier to store, they're easier to maintain, and they're very easy to sell if you buy right and you go after the right markets. So that's why I preach on this channel from a collectible financial perspective. If you are somebody that's trying to invest in these markets over the long term, you're gonna have to learn to love, if not at the very least tolerate, third-party grading. It is here to stay. And if you buy right, if you understand how these markets work, you can profit from it. On that note, I am going to end part 8 of the 18,000 subscriber Q&A series. And I will tell you, just looking at the amount of questions we have left, there's definitely going to be a part 9, definitely a part 10, possibly even like a part 11. I'm hoping not to go past 11 parts. So let's see what we can do in the next few entries into this series. In the interim, please let me know your thoughts in the comments.